But I got a saying, and I've heard it from someone else, so I can't take full credit for it. But just because it's a fact doesn't make it your fate. Just because it's a fact that, you know, you're from this area, this fatherless background, a single parent household, whatever, doesn't make it your fate.
Yeah.
And that's how I live my life every day too.
But as far as attitude goes, did you always have kind of a very positive attitude?
Yeah, well, I never blame. My mom raised my brothers and I. Really, we didn't complain a lot. I mean, my mom had me when she was 15 years old, so we grew up together. Yeah. So she's although I know my place, she's my mother. Yeah. But we were basically in a sense like a brother and sister, and she never complained. She never talked bad about our fathers. None of that. Right. She never said your father's trash. She could have done all that. Yeah. She never did. Wow. And we just never really had the glasses half empty.
Hey, what's your problem? You have business problems? We have business solutions. Well, maybe.
Yeah. Sure.
Life is a fight.
It is.
In business, every day is a fight. Yep. So, hey, what's your problem?
Yes. Once again, the big voice guy, John David Wells. Thank you so much. Check him out at the Wells Report on Facebook. Wonderful, wonderful human being. He and I go back a long way. This is the What's Your Problem podcast, where we talk to Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals about the one thing, because it's always something when you're running a business. Whether you're a professional in it, you're hired by somebody else, or you're doing your own thing. It's always something. This is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at whatsyourproblempodcast.com and pick your poison on how you'd like to consume it. And of course, this year, we always talk about it being the year of 10,000 average downloads. I'll be honest, we're a long way off from that. But, you know, hey, we put it out there and we ask if you could share, subscribe, rate, review. All you got to do is go to that website, whatsyourproblempodcast.com. You can share it right from there. I am your host, Jim McCarthy, with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com and It'sYourShow.co, the very company that produces podcasts like this. If you or someone you know is looking for a podcast or needs help with theirs, we can help. Let them know about us if you would. And today, Troy M. Smith comes all the way down from Nashville to the, we're basically almost on the Alabama line here. Did you have to pack a bag lunch to come here?
I did.
Yeah, right?
From Hendersonville, by the way of Nashville. I'm way on the other side of the country. I'm north of the wall.
It really is like a whole different planet up there.
It is.
We had to do a job up in Portland one time. My goodness.
Oh, wow. That's past me.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's Kentucky line.
Yeah.
But glad you came down here. I'm familiar with you through the Stronger Than My Father podcast with Mr. Marcus Manise. Tremendous gentleman doing great work there. And every time I hear you speak, I've heard you on his podcast a couple of times. You just bring the fire, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, we always start things off with what we call the Dad Joke Challenge. Bad transition in music there, but we'll work with it. So the Dad Joke Challenge is brought to you by Mr. Ed Fox and Trade Bank of Nashville. If you had items on a shelf that aren't moving quite as fast as you'd like, or maybe things are slow with your service business, Trade Bank is a worthwhile thing to look into, okay? Because you tap into a whole other network of other businesses that are engaged in trade, and you also trade your items and services for what it costs you, not necessarily what they retail for. So you get pretty much, sometimes 10, 20 cents on the dollar, just doing it that way. So worthwhile to look into. I would certainly recommend it. All the links are in the description. And Mr. Ed Fox always does the jokes for us because he is a dad joke aficionado. He loves them. Right.
So he must be pretty lame, man.
He's got 3 published books on Amazon called Grown-tastic Dad Jokes. He's quite the entrepreneur.
And not saying he's lame as a person, it's not lame in regards. Dad jokes are supposed to be lame. So,
right. Yeah. But for some reason, everyone loves them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So 5 dad jokes. Here we go. You can laugh, you can groan, you can not make any noise, you can roll your eyes. We just do it for fun and get some energy going here. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Joke number 1.
So what do you call the local area network in Australia? The land down under.
See?
Okay.
See?
All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give a little smirk in there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is how we it's a fun little thing that we do.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the guy that fell into an upholstery machine? He's fully recovered.
He's fully recovered.
Okay.
Because he's upholstery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not bad.
Sewed him up.
Number 3.
What do you call a man who gets into a fight with his cat?
Cat
Claude.
Oh.
Claude. His name is Claude.
Yeah,
he's
from
from
all week.
He's from a European country,
Okay.
most likely Germany or something. Number 4.
What do you call a fake noodle? An imposter.
Impasta, like imposter.
He sounds like he's Australian. Is he not Australian?
He is. He is directly. He is from down under. He really is.
Down under. Okay.
Yes. And the final one, I promise.
Did you know that a will is a dead giveaway?
Okay.
See?
Okay.
That's funny.
We got to get some hand claps or something like that. You know, some
I'm
hand
gonna
claps.
go there we go.
There you go. All right.
I'll do
Cool.
the ding. Well, there you go. The Dad Joke Challenge brought to you by Ed Fox and Mr. Ed Fox with Trade Bank. Again, all the details and links are in the description. I would highly suggest it. A good way to just kind of tap into a whole other network and networking with other businesses. So,
Cool.
there you go.
Ed.
Yeah, buddy.
Good job, Ed. Appreciate that. Appreciate
Absolutely. This is where I always say, typically my guests are going, what did I get myself into?
Oh, not at all. I'm with it.
You
You
know,
know, it's something about these pillars. When you're a big guy, you like hide a roll or two. So you put it right there. You put it right here just to get relaxed.
They make good armrests.
They do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have a place to put your arms. I get that, you know.
Yeah, I feel you.
It's just you got to feel comfortable doing that. Thing. But you're naturally comfortable doing this because you're not a stranger to the spotlight. You're not a stranger from being in front of other people, speaking and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That's what you do primarily. What set the foundation for what you're doing today? What is it? What all is it that you do as well?
Well, what all that I do, I am a mortgage originator. So I do, I help people get into homes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do for the day to day. But in regards to that, lets me to be able to do the one thing I do to let me do everything else I like to do for free.
Right.
So if I need to go do something like this today, I can have the freedom to do that. That's why I'm thankful to do those things. But what helped me start this off, Jim, of doing this, is me getting in trouble a lot when I was younger.
Right.
Not knowing why. My mom used to always say, "Quit talking to strangers." I'm that guy, the kid that talked to everybody. Not
So you're a salesman in the making.
in life, you know what I'm saying? But good thing is I wasn't talking to any strange people. Want me to get into any vans,
Right.
You know, I was
Yeah,
young. But for years and years, man, my mom and I laugh about it now. But me being able to talk to anyone, having to give the gab, allowed me to be able to do what I do today. And I've been practicing for so long, not knowing I was practicing or in the process of practicing to do what I do today.
So, I mean, basically a sales role. I mean, with mortgages, you got to be out there.
Absolutely.
It's a commoditized industry.
Right.
You have to be getting your name out there.
Yes,
right?
that's for sure.
How did mortgages even come about?
I wanted some more freedom in what I did. You know, so for example, I used to do private banking at one time.
Right.
And I started from, I've been in banking for over 15 years. Started from the bottom of being a guy you sit at the desk,
Right.
to working up to being a licensed professional, being able to do investments and all that. But I still was tied to a desk in a sense.
Right.
And had a couple of coworkers say, "Hey, Troy, you love money. You love to be able to talk to anyone, have more freedom. You may want to look into mortgage lending." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing full commission."
Right.
That's what I was just married to. I'm not doing full commission to go do that. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I have children,
Right.
and married, and then I decided to go in full commission. So it's like backwards. But I end up doing that, and then it gives me freedom to do what I need to do, be around my family more and all that stuff.
So it was a scary transition. I'm familiar with doing
Yes.
something like that when you have everything on the line.
Right.
I've told that story before in 2016. My W-2 years basically ended, and I became fully employed myself.
Yeah.
Self-employed, and haven't looked back ever since.
Right. And then after you get spoiled, Jim, you get scared, right? You get scared of saying that if I go back to what I was doing, I'd be chained to a desk again, been back into the rotation of when you going to lunch, when you coming back, are you coming back from lunch, and all that type of stuff.
Right.
So to the point to where I'm in it and I'm stuck.
Well, that kind of thing also helps you shape your own business when you hire people on.
Yeah. That's
If you want a culture that's like that, you know what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, but then also I'm a self-starter though too. So
Right.
I don't really need a lot of motivation to go do what I need to do. I'm a self-motivator.
Well, it's purpose.
Yeah, that's true.
Having purpose in what
Yeah.
you do certainly helps, right?
Right, that definitely helps.
Right.
And if you got a purpose of what you're doing, you're going to go out there and do it more. Fearlessness.
We're scratching the surface. So you're like a racehorse ready to go right now.
Oh no, we're going to scratch it.
Yeah,
We're going
yeah.
to scratch it. We're going to do like a little mouse up there.
So, like, what was your first job? How did you find yourself leading up to, you were in banking for a certain season, chained to a desk. I mean, prior to that, what were you doing?
Prior to that, I was in school. I was in school
okay.
a whole life. So I'm born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. So, I mean, I've been involved with just out there just getting things done. Like, so from a single parent household, and I just had to learn things on my own. I didn't have a father there my father who I knew, but I didn't have him there in the household to like say, hey, these are things you need to do. Right. My mother did all she could do with me and my two brothers, and me and my two brothers. So she was working a lot, so we did a lot of sports, a whole lot of sports. And there's a lot of relationship building while I was in with coaches and things like that to actually get me involved with different things and just going to be getting in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Did you have like a natural propensity to try and find ways to? I mean, was it getting in trouble or just doing what kids do?
Not getting in trouble, just doing what kids do. But I never really got in trouble per se. But I tell you what, I used to do a lot of. I just never stayed put.
Right.
I'm always out and about. I never stayed in the house. That's an old. That's
what they call
thing.
networking.
Yeah, so I never stayed in the house. And so I used to sell lineups at UT. I don't know if you're familiar with. If you go to football games and stuff like that, they give you programs. You sell them. Back in the day, they used to have kids selling the paper,
right,
or selling the programs, and say, "Hey, programs, lineups, come get your lineups. 50 cents here, 50 cents there, $1 there." And I did that when I was like 9 years old.
Okay.
I mean, I was out. And this is before back in the day, cell phones and beepers and stuff.
Yeah.
So your parents had to truly trust that you were doing what you say you're going to do at 9 and 10 years old.
Yeah.
I was walking up to so in Knoxville, UT Vols there. I used to walk up to the school campus, the strip, what they called it, and actually sold lineups on Saturday mornings, and just making money that way.
Around Neyland Stadium?
Yeah, around Neyland Stadium.
Wow.
Yep.
Did you realize what you were doing then?
No. I just doing it because friends were doing it. I mean, we were doing something good.
This is normal.
Just normal. Hey, you want to sell lineups on Saturday? I'm like, Mama, can I go sell lineups? She's like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Did you make a commission on it? Or
yeah,
was
you
it
make
hourly?
you make commission on. So every paper you sell, you get to keep a piece of the coins.
Good for you.
So if you made 50 cents, you maybe got to keep a quarter or so like that.
Right.
So, but that was just when I think about it now, Jim, it really was a good opportunity to help people be entrepreneurs when they were younger.
Right.
I mean, they were giving us opportunity, and they had to trust us to bring the money back.
Yeah.
And I was the person that brought the money back, but some people probably kept the money and left.
Right. Yeah.
But I got into that entrepreneurship in that sense, and then I cut grass for a little while, cut grass. But they got me prepared to what I'll be doing today, speaking in front of people and selling myself in the sense of the business wise.
So you had anybody pouring into your life, mentors, coaches, things of that nature?
Yeah.
Because growing up with it, I know that you were relatively fatherless.
Right.
And then that kind of turned into other people just doing what you're doing now.
Right.
Intentionally doing.
Right. Like for my first coach, I was 9 years old. I played for the Rue Golden Bears in Knoxville, and Coach Howell took a lot of he used to work for the city by cutting the grass in the projects.
Oh, okay.
So he cut the grass. He's building those big lawnmower tractors and stuff like that. He had a football team. I joined his football team. Him and I, created a great relationship in regards to player coach, to where he, took me to different ball clubs to help me. Like when I started growing out of the little league stage, he introduced me to my middle school coach, and we got cool from there. And I got cool with the middle school coach, and then he took me along and took me to different places to show me what it's like outside the project.
Now, if you didn't have that, do you think you'd have the wherewithal to seek that out? Was that in you?
What's interesting, I wasn't even seeking it out before, so I think it would have just ended up coming another form, in regards to another coach. I mean, it's all, I believe everything is all planned out.
They're naturally attracted.
They're just attracted to that. So it wasn't that coach, it would have been someone else to say, hey, let me take you, help you learn the ropes and things like that.
And the amazing thing, and the most honorable thing I see you doing, helping Marcus with the kids out there that have similar upbringings that don't have that wherewithal, that, they just naturally get attracted to, not troublemaking, but finding trouble where.
But trouble is easy to find you when you come from obscure places.
Yeah.
The projects is full of opportunities to get in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Or the hood or whatever you want to call it these days. I mean, it's easy for you to get into that. Statistically, I'm supposed to be getting in trouble. That's the normal.
Yeah.
But I got a saying, and I've heard it from someone else, so I can't take full credit for it. But just because it's a fact doesn't make it your fate. Just because it's a fact that, you're from this area, this fatherless background, a single parent household, whatever, doesn't make it your fate.
Yeah.
And that's how I live my life every day too.
But as far as attitude goes, did you always have kind of a very positive attitude?
Yeah, well, I never blame. My mom raised my brothers and I. Really, we didn't complain a lot. I mean, my mom had me when she was 15 years old, so we grew up together. Yeah. So she's although I know my place, she's my mother.
Yeah.
But we were basically in a sense like a brother and sister. Where it's like, hey, I don't know any better. I'm just gonna teach you what I know.
Yeah.
And she never complained. She never talked bad about our fathers. None of that.
Right.
She never said your father's trash. She could have done all that.
Yeah.
She never did.
Wow.
And we just never really had the glasses half empty.
And did you, but I mean, it's, that kind of thing, and having the right people around you, you certainly, set you on the trajectory for success.
Right. And I tried, Jim. I tried to get in trouble.
Right.
I promise you.
Yeah.
I've tried to steal. I tried to be all that stuff.
Just not good at it.
Just not good at it. I got caught every time. And not only that, I felt bad and I told on myself. So it doesn't matter. Like, for example, I had a story of, I was up on the strip, because we used to spend a lot of time on the strip. They used to have arcades and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This when comic book stores were big and all that. And I think I was like 13, 14 years old.
Right.
And I went down to, we went to the strip, and I went to my friend, I'm not going to put his name out there, but he used to steal very easily. Right. So I went to a comic book store, got a couple of comic books, and left with some comic books.
Right.
Didn't know, just like in market, got to be supply and demand, right?
Oh yeah.
I didn't have any demand for any comic book from nobody, and I didn't know who to sell them to. So I'm walking around the strip talking about, hey, you want to buy some comic books?
What do I do with these?
Books? Yeah. So next thing you know, I couldn't find nobody to sell them to. So my ignorant self decided to go to the skateboard store next door to the comic book store and try to sell him the comic books. And then he said, no, man, I'm okay. I don't need any comic books.
And those guys talk to each other.
So when I'm walking away and I look behind me, I just seen that guy go across the street, tell the guy, all of a sudden I see this guy say, hey, come back. You little, he cussing me out and everything. I said, hey, sir, I'm sorry. Here's your comic books. I'm sorry. Right. And then he could have flipped the script and said, you're going to jail or juvenile, whatever.
Right.
But my friend ran away from me, got away, he left.
Right.
But I'm not a runner.
Right.
As you can see, I don't run like that. So I said, hey, you know what? Here are your comic books. I apologize. I'm sorry. He took it. But from that point on, I said, I'm not doing it again.
Right.
I only did it like once or twice and it never worked. So,
but he took grace on you.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
He sure did.
Did you have a relationship with him after that?
No, I just left. I got about it. And after that, I never did it again. Never went up. I mean, I'm not the comic book guy. I just did it because other people were doing it. Peer pressure.
Yeah.
Peer pressure.
So from then on, it's like, okay, whatever I got to do, it's got to be legit.
Yeah, legit. Yeah.
And then move on from there. So you went to school, you graduated and everything with a degree, got into banking. Right?
Yes. Well, so I graduated with my undergrad in speech communication because I said, since I like to talk, let me actually learn how to talk properly, I guess, or learn how to do speeches.
Right.
Did that, did plays, I was in speech communication and theater. But of course, as you get out, what to do? What am I going to do now?
And those things are integral for a sales role.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like you're acting.
Yes, you're always acting.
You're putting on a performance.
Yeah, I'm who you are. I'm who I am, who you need me to be at the time.
Right. But I mean, there's definitely you involved.
Yes, absolutely.
In it's like me, whenever I turn this thing on, I become a little bit more of an animated character.
You got the perfect voice for it, though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely not the face.
Yeah. You got the face too, man.
So that becomes you getting it. Fast forward to today. How did everything with speaking come about? When did you start doing that?
Yeah, so I got into doing a little bit of speaking when I went to college. I got into campus ministry. So I used to do a lot of Bible studies and stuff like that. A whole lot of campus church plants and all that. So next thing, since I'm not really scared to speak in front of people, which there's a large population of individuals that's afraid to speak in front of folks.
Right.
They'd rather die.
Yeah.
Rather than speak in front of people. But that's not my problem.
And it's actually based down to very few reasons as to why.
No, what's that?
It's typically because, and this is from a few episodes ago, a guy broke it down that a lot of people feel like they got to talk about themselves and make it about them. And they forget that they're only talking to one person, even though it looks like you're in front of, 500, 1,000 people, of course, that can be very daunting. But if you treat it like you're talking to one person, because that's what you truly are doing. Yeah. And then you have you make it about them, and of course, be prepared and all that stuff. The more prepared you are, the more confident you're going to be.
Right. And that's a good point. I mean, speaking about people don't want to hear about you. Right. That's why it's hard for me to talk about myself. Right. A lot. I can talk about anything else, and I can bring it up to make it seem important to you. But me talking about myself, just like in sales, I'm trying to give you what you want, not what I want you to have. Yeah. And
it's also stories that go along. People love hearing stories, especially good ones. Yeah. That goes along with it too, even in sales. Yeah. I mean, how many times did I tell the story of Berta Benz? When I sold Mercedes, and how Carl Benz he was kind of reluctant. She's the one who kind of got him out. His wife got him out there to make the car what it is, at least the beginnings of what we know it as today.
I tell you, women something else, aren't they?
She's
get you out there.
The first long distance drive was done by a woman.
What?
Berta Benz.
Well, that's something new I learned today.
17 miles, I think. She took one of he was been, tinkering around with the motor and everything. And, he was obviously not, he was influential. He was the tinkerer, the R&D guy. But, obviously he got the second place, naming rights.
But the long distance drive was 17 miles.
That was his wife.
I just drove that longer than that today.
Yeah.
I just drove an hour.
Yeah.
But
took her, probably 6 hours to do it. But,
the speed limit probably was terrible. But
it was non-existent.
doing the speaking thing, I did that in college. Mm-hmm. So that turned into motivating people to be better every day. Mm-hmm. But even when I was younger, I was a spokesman for the Boys and Girls Club in Knoxville. Stuff I were doing. Now, I told my wife the other day, I said, I'm like an old person now where they can say I've forgotten more stuff I've done than people have probably done.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the things I've done in life where it's like, man, I've been doing this for a long time, not knowing what will be in the future.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah, so that's how
you're early, mid-40s?
I'm 40. Yeah, I'll be 41 in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you feel like there's been a pivot in your life around this age?
Pivot in what sense? And like something
like a paradigm shift in your career, or
no? It's just going further into it. I think it's nothing shifted at all. It's just really I'm doing what I do in the business sense of mortgages purposely.
Yeah.
It works out correct. In my calling in life,
right?
Impacting people. I believe, Jim, that I'm to inspire and encourage and edify people to be better than they were 5 minutes ago before they met me. So
what kind of audience you typically get in front of?
All of them. From everyone, from younger kids. I just had a guy call me this morning and say, hey, on the 8th of November, we're going to have a boys' day at the middle school. Mm-hmm. Love for you to come in and speak to them. There was one time not so professional, two professional individuals want them to speak in front of the boys.
Yeah.
And at one time, Jim, I was, this type of even dressing was like, weird to me.
Right.
I used to wear cut-off T-shirts and shorts and house shoes all day.
Right.
The look of not going anywhere.
Well, I mean, a lot of that, there's a whole thing going on in the sales space, in the business influencer space, Instagram, TikTok, where some of these guys are saying, well, you gotta, your first impression is going to be heavily weighed on how you appear, how you dress. Yeah, there is and there isn't. I just think that, once you open your mouth, that's a secondary way to impress people. My business partner, he'll admit to you, right now he's wearing flip-flops, shorts, and, a button-down collared shirt. Mm-hmm. We're both kind of robust, in terms of size. And a lot of people would probably write him off on his appearance alone, but once he gets going, he makes an indelible impression on people. He really does. And it's really I've been hearing a lot of this notion, especially from some of these sales trainers. One in particular, he says, I don't hire anybody without a six-pack.
Oh, really?
Dude, how you do realize there are people out there that, I don't think Tony Robbins has a six-pack. Uh-huh. Okay, he's in good shape.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a six-pack.
Uh-huh.
All right. And you mean to tell me you would write him off? That's stupid. Why would you do that?
Yeah. That's just short-sightedness in a sense. But in my book, The Mindset of Successful Thinking, one of the pillars about that is the appearance, the importance of appearance. Mm-hmm. The first impression does go a long way, the first part.
Yes.
And then when people look at you, so like, for example, when I go speak to these young men in a couple of weeks, no matter how much they want to say, if you just keep it real. But if I come in looking like I did before, they wouldn't pay attention to me. It's all about what they will see, what they expect what success to them would look like.
But you got to dress to what you're comfortable with.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
I don't think you can dress too sharply and then really...
Oh, you can be overdressed.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you be I'm going in a three-piece suit. It's like, no, it's not going to work.
You're overcompensating for something.
Overcompensating for something.
And it's not, in the male way of thinking. But there are guys out there that, wear like slick suits and everything. I mean, one guy in particular wears way too tight pants.
That's different. Yeah.
And he's muscular and everything.
The good thing you said is though, dress for the occasion, right? That's dress for the occasion. But that's very important to get that first impression. Then after that, they'll be willing to listen to you for the next step.
Right.
What you sound like, what you talk like. and all that.
Gary Vaynerchuk, he'll show up at a speech for in a hoodie, and it's like, but he's got years upon years of content that he's put out there that makes the world know he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and really now we got also too, just because it worked for other people don't mean it's gonna work for you, right?
You got to do you.
So it's a lot of times that people think, well, so and so got money, they can do it. Well, that's so and so that got money, they can do it.
Right.
You don't, right? Not you, but in general,
you're not there yet.
Right, you're not there yet. Yeah. So but to answer your question, pivoting to, I feel like I'm actually in what I'm supposed to do. Right. I'm in my vein.
How many speeches are you doing a month?
I do a couple of speeches a lot in regards to mortgage lending. So if I count those, it's probably about 2 or 3 a month.
2 or 3, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm only speaking to other officers in the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like, for example, I did a speech yesterday on Sunday at a church about first-time home buying and also about products about mortgages.
Okay.
And then the week before that, I spoke to... a couple weeks before that, I spoke at the thing with the fathers thing, so it really just depends on what the occasion called for. But 2 or 3 a week.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, you and Marcus did the father conference, the fatherless or Amplify Fatherhood conference,
right?
And if you listen to that episode of Stronger Than My Father, StrongerThanMyFather.org, check it out. It's only about maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago. So that episode has been out where you guys did a live, and both of you guys just brought the fire.
Hey, I love Marcus, man. Marcus is good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and it's good that you got people like you around him too, man. So
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
He's become a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Tell me about, the basis of a speech like that. I mean, speaking on all sorts of topics, but what's your big idea topic? What is Troy M. Smith? One word in the mind for the prospect. What is the word you own or the phrase you own?
Well, I just say inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Because everything I do speak about, even though I go speak about the mortgages, I'm always putting my story within it.
Right.
To show credibility. And I'm speaking from the heart, man. So it's why it's easier. Sometimes it can come across much easier like you're speaking to one person because it's actually coming from within compared to me coming up with. It's hard. One thing that's hard for me to do is create the same speech and do it over and over and over.
Right.
I'm always doing a new one all the time.
Just kind of bobbing and weaving.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And
that's
just
how
knowing,
that's how the idea and the concept grows.
Yeah, and then
develops.
also knowing the audience I'm speaking to, right?
Yeah.
So I guess another word would be credibility. Speaking with credibility.
Right.
So that's the bread.
Well, that's a huge problem these days. When you, again, getting back to the business influencer space, is determining and what do they call that? Discernment. Discerning who's got the stripes and who doesn't.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people out there that speak on, exiting your business, on creating a business, sales principles and stuff like that. And those are so subjective. You can go in so many different directions. A lot of them are more geared towards transactional selling than relational selling because that appeals to a younger crowd. Well, hey, I can make money overnight kind of thing. Is it possible? Yeah, in some industries it is. But they teach them how to shoot themselves in the foot, in my opinion. Because they're not truly developing relationships. They're taking one, relationship from the very shallow sense in the beginning and then just dominating the transaction. Okay, how do I sell them? How do I close them? Package them up, kick them out and next. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just talked to a friend of mine last week who's been at the Mercedes dealer in Tennessee for about 17 years now, 18 years. He's like, I don't take ups anymore. He doesn't have to. He's got such a book of business. And I've treated all my customers the right way that they'll send me business. They'll come back constantly and buy through me. He says, customer I hadn't talked to in 4 or 5 years, hey, they got to come back around and they look for me. They remember me.
Man, you know what, Jim? Now that you bring that back up, I gotta apologize because one word in anything that I do that I would think I'll take advantage of or utilize a lot is relationships.
Yeah.
Everything that I do is relationship driven. From my wife that I've been married to 15 years, from the jobs I've had, is all through relationships. Everything has been relationship.
Those are important.
And I speak about relationship, but then also time.
Yeah.
My 2 most important currencies in life are time and relationships. Time, you got to invest wisely because you can't get it back. Relationships will get you places that money can't buy.
Right.
When it comes down to everything is relationship driven, and then it gives me the credibility to do what I do.
Well, your credibility comes from your story.
Right.
You know, you've overcome the odds.
Yes.
You know, because I mean, you know, a lot of people you probably grew up with that didn't.
Right. Oh, definitely. Didn't, died, everything else.
Wow.
The odds, and I mean, I just got to speaking to one of my, not speaking to one of my friends recently, but, you know, through Facebook, keeping up. And he just ended up passing away.
Oh, wow.
And I had a brother of mine who ended up passing away.
Okay.
And so my dad's side, I had 16 brothers and sisters. One passed away recently.
16.
Yeah, 16 of us.
Wow.
So one passed away recently. But I also just had a friend who just went to jail. He's in jail and he's gonna be in jail for 30 years.
Wow.
Got a cousin who just went to jail, and it's a female.
Right.
And she's right now waiting for, I don't know if it's trial or what, but for second degree murder.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this stuff is around me all the time.
Yeah.
So this is just life.
Yeah.
And so the only thing you can do is reshape and retrain your thought process and thinking in a different mindset than just doing. I can easily complain, Jim, and start saying, woe is me, or man, look where I come from, and use all those statistics and all of that. But it's not going to get me anywhere. I just stay in the same spot.
Right.
So that's why I go out and actually speak to people about the thought process of mindset of successful thinking, or change the way that someone thinks, building relationships, and telling them the importance about building relationships because it gets you a place that money can't buy.
Yeah.
The importance of time. Timing is everything. If you give a person too much at the wrong time, it's terrible.
Yeah.
If you get that information, the same thing at the right time, opportunities come from that.
Well, yeah, and it's the relationships, especially when you serve the people in the relationship, you know, making it more about them than you.
You just
right?
Now we're going right back to the beginning of where we're not, when people are afraid to speak. You think you're talking about yourself the whole time, but if you're making it about the people you're talking to or the person you're talking to, the transformation happens. You building that credibility and relationship with them to where they're like, I don't know what it is about that, but I got to get what he or she has.
Well, I mean, everything you're talking about, a lot of people that are in those positions, because you've come out of that environment, they can't say to you, well, you don't know what it's like.
That's nothing. It's
no.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're right, man. Because you just said a key thing too. The Mercedes guy, your Mercedes friend, by him building a relationship with those people, he don't do ups anymore. Ups people mean, ups
New
is
opportunities.
Ups mean,
New opportunities.
Yeah, so the next thing you know, it's like, hey, Jim, I had this last sale. Now it's your turn. That's the up system.
Yeah.
But when you don't have to worry about that anymore, like when you go out and doing cold calls, you know, I don't do that no more. I can actually have relationships bring them to me because I'm also serving them as well.
Right. And the other thing that people lose sight on, especially in their 20s, they listen to these guys, the overnight success type guys. Yeah. Everything is a 5-year run. Yeah, no, I don't care whether you're selling solar, roofing, door-to-door, cars. Your business is really going to start. You know, you can really make a good living in the car business right off the bat. Okay, by getting in front of people, but strategically treating those relationships the right way.
Right.
It was much more difficult when I sold Honda than Mercedes
because it's easy to just people bought them a lot.
The clientele had a different mindset. Right, the clientele buying Mercedes was different. They weren't thinking scarcity; they were thinking bountiful. Right, they were thinking more. They knew that they were confident in themselves that they could afford the car. They could afford all the things that go with a car like that. They just had that kind of lifestyle and that kind of mindset, like what you're talking about. And it was something I could certainly relate to. They weren't going to be hard sold. They weren't going to be hard closed. They already knew exactly what they were looking for.
Right.
It was just a case of presenting your what you're doing and then, you know, making the best of it.
And also, was you driving a Mercedes yourself?
At the time, I wasn't.
Right. Okay.
But it was a goal of mine to own one. I mean, something that I never thought I'd be able to afford. You know, and it was a lot. That whole experience was a massive mindset shift.
Okay,
for me.
Tell us about it.
Because when I sold Honda, that was me coming out of radio and getting into a whole new industry. Never had to actually rely on selling a vehicle before or anything. I always had a W-2 job, right? So now here I was in a situation, I had to make it happen. I had to pay my bills. And if I didn't sell anything, man, we were going to suffer.
Yeah, you know? Believe me, I know what that feels like.
I thought I was a good salesperson up until it came to the close. I was bad at closing. I had to really develop that.
Okay.
And thankfully it was good because I had good mentors and managers that poured into me. Yeah, they kind of did it in a way that was militaristic in a sense. But, I think I also had life behind me where I could actually posture back and know how to do it tactfully.
Yeah.
To a 22-year-old, when you get intimidated by a manager, they're just going to see the deer in the headlights.
Right.
With me, I was 37 at the time. I'm like, okay, I really appreciate you helping me out, but the way you're doing it's not going to help.
It's not going to change anything. Right.
You're not scaring me. You're not intimidating me. Just talk to me like a human being.
Right.
Okay. And plus, I'm going to appreciate you that much more.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, hey, intimidate the crap out of me. I'm not in boot camp. I can leave.
Right. You can go and do something else. What happened to your what did you change about your clothing? What was changed different?
Well, I mean, in the Honda world, it was a black collared T-shirt with nice slacks and nice shoes, nice-ish shoes. But it wasn't until I had a customer that saw what I was doing, who was in the car business at one point. He basically said, "Look, you need to go to Highline. You need to go sell Highline. Lexus, Mercedes, Beamer." I said, I'm part of a group that I don't know. The group that we work in owns those dealerships. I've been to those dealerships. I don't see myself being cut from that cloth. And he goes, no, you totally can do it.
Oh.
Now that, mind you, my mother, my father, my brother, my wife, my kids could tell me to the blue in the face that I could do it. I wouldn't believe them. It took a total stranger to see that potential. And he ended up convincing me to say, look, get out of the Honda, go find a Highline. You could totally do it. I totally, the way you're handling yourself right now, complete. So that was the beginning of my mindset shift. Now, mind you, I was going from selling, $25,000 cars to selling $60,000 cars with options galore. All of a sudden, the entire smorgasbord opened up. The learning curve was just off the charts. Very intimidating. But I went into it in the middle of the month, which is something unheard of. Just don't do that.
That's right.
Did it in the middle of a December. Actually, I was having a good month at the Honda dealership too. It was probably going to be my first 20-car month. And then I made the switch to a Mercedes dealer, and I said to myself, not only am I going to dominate this position, but I'm selling my first car before the end of the year, before the end of this month. Because they actually did require that you go through all the training before you get taken up.
Right.
So wouldn't you know it, on New Year's Eve day, sold the first one.
Well, okay.
And the next one I sold was my first 6-figure car, which was mind-blowing to me.
Right.
I never thought I'd sell anything 6 figures.
Yeah.
But that job really opened up my eyes.
But the closing part, what was different from where you saying it before? Like, where you want to buy? Were you over talking? Were you letting the person?
Closing in Honda was mostly about the price and the payment. For this kind of thing, it was just finding the right car.
Got it.
And sometimes they would get a little bit. You pretended not. Even though a $600, $700 a month payment for me was just astronomical, you had to pretend like it was nothing. You're buying a Benz.
Yeah,
that's what the deal is.
Yeah.
They're expensive for a reason. So
the reason why the brake changes and oil changes.
And typically, they would just. It was more the. Sometimes they'd want a variation of maybe $10 or $20 or whatever, and you'd figure out a way to kind of get around it. But generally, we always shot straight with them. Pretty much. The cars were already discounted.
You hit in regards to mindset change. I remember when I first my first commission job, when I knew what commission was,
right,
when it really mattered, was I was selling suits, big and tall suits in grad school. Now this is clothing. Now it's not like this is underwear, shirt, t-shirts, and all that. Full commission, no, none of that, no anything.
Yeah.
So what happened is I was working at dealers at the time. I used to always buy my clothes, though, from a different place called Men of Stature, big and tall, back in the day. Went down there and used to buy my clothes there, and the guy, Robbie, there said, hey, Troy, why don't you come and work over here? You spend so much money here, why don't you work for us?
Yeah.
Now, this is a mom and pop store. It only had like 3 employees for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And the one guy, Ron Harvey, rest his soul, he the one that taught me how to tie a tie, died. And they wanted to replace. I was the first black guy in the whole company.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. So I was working. I was working like making $8.50 at Dillard's. He said, "I'll pay you $9 over here." I said, 50 cents.
Nice.
Let's do it. So so I'm doing that. But one Saturday morning, my coworker Chris, my boy Chris, it was me, Chris, and Robbie. That's my first like family like job and like good people. Chris was excited on a Saturday, man. I'm like, Chris, why are you so excited? He said, man, I just made $1,000.
Wow.
I said, $1,000 doing what? What do you mean? I'm making $9 an hour now.
Yeah.
So if I work 8 hours, I'm only going to get, $82 or whatever it was. Right. And he's like, yeah, man, I work full commission. You get paid hourly.
Mm-hmm.
I said, man, I gotta, but I'm thinking, but don't you scared when they come down to not making money this day? He said, I may not make money all week, but I made $1,000 today.
Wow.
So at the beginning of the year, I said, you know what, man, I'm going to actually try this full commission thing.
Right.
See what happened. Scared as crap. I got my first check though. Now, it may not be a lot now, but man, I got a check for $1,100.
Nice.
And my first check, now my check before that was $600, something like that. I made $1,100. I even called HR and asked them, did they make a mistake?
The potential is there.
I said, what? I never got to pay this much money. Did y'all make a mistake? And she said, no, that's how much you earned. And at that point, and I stopped thinking about the money I made, how much, it just started working.
Wow.
And that's when I first experienced commission. And I was like, man, I should have been doing this a long time ago. Yeah. But then you get comfortable when you get another W-2 job and start making more money.
Yeah.
And but that's when I first noticed what it was, the thought process. I had a guy tell me before we get ready to go. I asked him, I said, hey, Steve, he was like 30, he was like 60 something at the time. But I said, when he was 30, he said he's worth $5 million.
Right.
I was already 30. I said, man, how can I by 35 be worth like $1 million?
Yeah.
And he said, you never will. Now, first I would get upset. I said, what do you mean you never will? But I said, tell me more. What do you mean I never will? He said, because you're always looking for someone to pay you the most money.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you make $100,000 now, another 5 years, you might make another, get a promotion, make $125.
Yeah.
He said, you'll never get to $1 million. But if you do entrepreneurship or full commission, you'll be able to get to that.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's when I seen it's a thought process behind it.
You got to do the math on it.
Yeah. And next thing you know, now I ain't made $1 million in 1 year yet.
Right.
But I've definitely made it over something to add up over the years.
Yeah, we're all millionaires. We made it over the course of 10 or 15 years, though. That's,
So, but that's a good story. Mindset change in regards to in regards to selling and all that stuff and closing.
But I mean, a lot of it, evolved in that position where it became more about the customer. Not that's the car was certainly always making it about the customer first, and then selling the car, then you, then the dealership, that kind of order. But I got so good at that job where I could tell if people were going to buy by the way they parked their cars. Oh yeah,
discernment. You ever heard the pen story, right? Sell me this pen.
Yeah.
And when I first heard about it, and someone said, "Sell me this pen," I was telling them everything about the pen. Never asked the customer what they wanted.
Right.
Or
establishing a need for the pen.
Establish a need, establish a relationship.
I got a blank check here that needs your signature on the back.
Yeah.
You got a pen? Yep.
So there you go. So I mean, just build that relationship and build, man. So if anything comes down to it, everything we've spoken about today, my one thing is relationship driven. I speak about relationship all the time. That builds the credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
It does.
That's what you got to do. Yeah, I've heard the pen, especially at the end of a movie called The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Sell me this pen.
Right.
And they automatically go for the tenets of the pen.
You're right.
Yeah. Another difference was, who Grant Cardone is?
Of course.
He was hiring people, and he had a documentary that was on
the millionaire thing. Or
billionaire, something like that. Undercover Billionaire.
Yeah, this was the billionaire. Yeah.
But he had another one that was on YouTube, and he basically was hiring, and it made it like a reality show. And at the end of every episode, he would ask the contestant, the applicant, "I'm going to give you two options, or you can sell yourself or sell me this glass of water. Pick one." And then they would always say, "I want to sell you myself." He's like, "Great, sell me the water."
Wow. Just throw them all off, huh? Yeah.
And they would be like, humming.
Yeah. I bet, but that's a good question. What would you start from and say, what are you looking for, I guess, in an employee? It's like dating.
Yeah.
What are you looking for in your mate or something?
Right. How do you sell water?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you got to establish the need.
Yeah, but like on the Wolf of Wall Street, when that guy said, they said, "Hey, Vinny, send me this pen." Yeah. And he said, "Write your name down." He said, "I don't have a pen." Right. Supply and demand.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's one way of doing it.
That's the easy way of doing it to make it simple. Are you thirsty? Here, take his glass.
What kind of water do you like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he had to do it in 60 seconds or less.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So,
can you imagine trying to do that?
Yeah. I probably would have been humming as well. So the best salespeople be probably confused.
But you got to basically think on your feet and move on for sure.
Right. And that's how life is.
Yeah.
Be on your feet all the time, just like everything else.
Yep.
As we run businesses and podcasts and stuff.
Well, how would you sell somebody water?
I'll just ask them, are they thirsty? See, hamida. What do you like to drink?
No.
Yeah, no, you don't like to drink anything, right?
How do you get them to the point where they desire to take a drink? You know,
that's a good one.
I'd probably go biblical.
You would?
Yeah.
Talk to me about it. You got the water. I got water for life.
You know, this water makes me think about a passage where Jesus was talking to the rich man who was parched. And he didn't know the rich man's name. He knew the servant's name, the servant for the rich man. So Jesus knew the name and identity of the servant, but he didn't know the name of the rich man. And the rich man was in a place where just one drop of water would be amazing. And can you imagine the kind of water he must have been craving if you handed him this water? I mean, it makes you thirsty just thinking about it, doesn't it? I guess I would kind of go along those lines.
I'm thirsty right now.
Right?
It's just like the guy, did you take it a step further when he talking about, was it the guy that went to hell?
Yeah.
And said, let me just send my brothers and, send someone to let them know.
Let them know.
Yeah. He said, well, just give me a glass of water. So, whatever. But yeah.
If you just touch it to my lips, it will be like instant relief.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's one way to think about it.
But when you just said, man, you have to think what type of water he probably been tasting. Now I start thinking like, man, I wouldn't mind having some water.
Don't you want to really start amplifying your appreciation of water now?
Look at that.
Right. So with this glass in front of you, don't you think you'd want to take a sip?
Right. I think I do.
But I mean, Grant would be like, nah, buddy. That doesn't do it for me.
That's what it is. He would have did that.
Yeah.
You should be a jerk about it or something.
What was a challenging sales situation you've ever been in? You ever think of one?
I had a person tell me I smiled too much.
Really?
I did. She's from them Yankees or something different.
Yeah.
She's from New York. And she was like, I want to trust you, but you smile way too much. But I had to overcome that by saying, well, how would you like me to look?
Yeah.
How would you want me to respond? But then I said, you know what, though? You have every right to feel that way because you're from New York.
Yeah.
And I'm from the South.
Is that something that off-puts you? Is that,
no.
Not you, but I mean, that's how it asked her.
I would ask her, would that make you feel? She said, I don't, but she did say, I don't know. I just don't feel. And next thing you know, she ended up being one of my favorite clients too.
What part of New York is she from?
She was from New York, the city. Okay. New York City.
One of the 5 boroughs.
Yeah. She's deep in that.
I can't blame you, ma'am. I mean, I'm familiar with that part of the country, and nobody smiles up there
at all. They get into fights on purpose. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
but they come down here, and then they like, why are you saying good morning to me? I don't. Yeah. Why? But
why are you helping me out? What do you want?
And that's exactly what her thought was. You must want something from me because
isn't it nice to be around somebody who smiles for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what if I was being the mean person?
Would you like me to say, your typical salutation up in the Northeast is, what are you looking at?
Yeah, all that. Yeah. I don't think it would affect. It would have went well. But I love when it comes down to sales, though, too, is overcoming the unthinkable.
Yeah.
When someone say that they can't happen for me, and then next thing you know, you change it around and say, "Oh my God, it happened." Those are things I definitely enjoy doing.
My business partner was hit with a curveball once from a guy, and he was like really astute at bringing business solutions in front of business owners, even though my business partner at the time didn't own a business. Mm-hmm. But he had that one guy that said, look, I love everything you're saying, but there's one thing holding me back. Okay, sir, what's that? When have you owned your own business? Well, sir, I haven't owned. He says, well, I can't take anything you're telling me for real. Because you don't know what it's like to live my life. You haven't been through what it takes. Being up at night, how are you going to make payroll and pay people? What's next on? How is my pipeline looking? Is this other situation going to turn into a legal mess? Those types of things that you business owners have to think about. He says, I cannot buy from you simply because of that. And he said, you know what, sir? Fair enough. I understand.
You know what I told him?
What?
I said, you know what, though, man, you got a great point. But as human beings and as a family man, we all run our own households like a business. And I speak to I've been up at night plenty of times in my role, and I wonder how we're going to get this next bill paid and have this next meal paid, done. And I've been there and done that. So no, have I owned a business? No, sir, I have not. But when it comes down to running my family, I'm a business owner just like you.
Right. There you go.
That changed the whole
That's
thing.
A good one.
That turned into a thought process like, well, I didn't think of it that way.
Well, that stuck in his craw so much that he actually went and owned. Here we are.
Yeah, of course. Here you are. And sometimes that happens.
And I've asked him before. I said, "You ever think about calling that guy back and say, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
I'd love to sit down and take you to lunch.
There you go, and let's go do some likes."
It's a great way to reach back around to people. For
It
sure.
is relationship building, man.
Yep.
But when you mentioned that before, I go back to credibility. A lot of people can't sell or can't buy anything or be able to do things with people that haven't experienced it. Like it's hard for me to hear how to raise children if you never had children before.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game. When you're in the game, it's like, and it's kind of hard to tell someone you can lose 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Sure. But you've never been fat.
Right.
You never had the health scare, the health issues that individual may have had.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for you to tell a person who's never been able to experience that weight gain and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you can lose it. And they're like, man, I'm diabetic.
Well, I mean,
or I'm this, I'm that, As
a fellow fat guy,
yeah,
I am just, one of those things that I take issue with the whole, well, you got to be in shape kind of. It's like, I understand being healthy, but there are body types that are more prone to getting in shape than others. Of course, there are sacrifices to be made. I'm not saying that. Yeah. And I know what it took to get me in shape back in my 20s.
Right.
It took a lot of work and a lot of discipline. But, I can make all the excuses in the world, but you cannot write somebody off because of that.
Right. Okay. Unless they're trying to train you. But
it's true.
Because it's a different situation. Like, for example, never trust a skinny chef. You heard that before.
Yeah.
A person they're a chef, but you're not eating too much good stuff.
But I mean, the people that are out there that are, especially the newer, there's a girl on TikTok and Instagram, and her name is Lauren Tickner. She's from Australia, always selling like these multi-million-dollar type of ways to live your life and everything. And it's like, you're barely 23.
Oh, yes, another thing, yeah.
Put your money where your mouth is and show me your bank account, first of all, because I need to believe that you've done this, because otherwise you're just spouting a bunch of crap.
Right.
And you're a good-looking girl that's getting,
That's going to help a lot.
It helps.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't say it doesn't. Like my daughter, 6 years old. This is the worst day of my life. I'm like, you're only 6.
You're only 6.
You haven't experienced nothing yet.
There are a lot of women on LinkedIn that have a ton of following. They post. LinkedIn is tough to crack, first and foremost, especially for a middle-aged, heavyset guy like myself that may or may not be attractive to people. That has a lot to do with it. You gotta, some people, and all the stuff that a lot of women, and not like they don't have anything good to say, they do. A lot of it's kind of like, okay, I've heard that before. It's not like you're reinventing, the wheel here. It's not rocket surgery, as they would say.
But I tell you, LinkedIn, and what regard people are doing a lot. I mean, LinkedIn to me is more of a business platform.
It is.
So when I see people doing personal stuff, like they're doing. I mean, it's
everyone's trying to inspire, and motivate.
That's true.
And I think we're saturated.
Right,
We've had enough inspiration and motivation for a while now.
Right.
And it's interesting to see what the next iteration of that's going to be, because everybody's parroting each other. Nobody's saying anything new.
Yeah.
And you get all these, people in the comment sections going, good job, fire. But they're not really responding objectively or constructively to whatever they're posting. And they're getting a lot of good engagement and feedback on these posts, because they're posting like, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, I lost my job. And there's one person in particular that talks about her losing her job, how it changed her life. She talks about it constantly, which is fine. But it's always accompanied with like a picture of her like, just posing.
But you know what you said? People might be overcompensating for something though.
Right.
All the time people are overcompensating. I bet sometimes those businesses not even flourishing like they say they are.
And that's when there's actually a podcast I'm producing that they're borderline going to start calling people out.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That put stuff out there that may or may not be true. It's interesting to see. I've always thought about maybe taking that to the next level, but I'm not sure if that would be perceived as trolling or negative. But it's like, at the same time, there's a guy out there named Steve Sims. He'll call people out. You're being a coach to somebody. That's, giving somebody a motivational shot in the arm every now and then is not coaching.
Yeah.
That's not coaching, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, back in, before 2020 hit, at one time though, Jim, it was like nonstop. the motivational thing. Don't get me wrong. I was doing my thing and all that too. I tried to do the coaching thing.
Yeah.
And it just I just felt wrong for charging someone to have a relationship with me.
Right.
I'm just being honest. Like, to have a relationship with me, being able to build with me and know me, I got to be able to discern to make sure it's not draining my time.
Yeah.
But then also make sure we're building solid relationships. And I remember one time, man, it was all about just coaching and pay me this, pay me that. And one time I had a lady break down on me and said, thank you for not charging me just to be a friend.
Wow.
I mean, she literally cried and said, because everywhere you turn, someone's trying to sell you something about why I should be your life coach or something like that.
Right.
And their life is shot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I just said, I'm not going to charge people just to talk to them and build with them. I can discern to make sure it's not wasting my time. But our relationships get you so many places, man, that if I look out for Jim and if I help Jim get to where he needs to be, Jim make sure I get to where I need to be and connect me with the right people to help me get there too. That's how I look at all that stuff.
It really is.
I wouldn't have never known you wouldn't do Marcus. I would have never known Marcus if it wasn't through another relationship I had. Someone to say, hey man, you remind me of my mentor, Troy. Y'all should meet.
Yeah.
And the same guy happened to be another guy that I knew through the insurance business was talking about, man, this guy reminds me so much of you. His name is Marcus Manise. I said, I need to meet Marcus because apparently, just because we're two big guys is one thing. Everybody say because he's big and black is what it is. They said, no, it's just personality, his go-get attitude about getting things done. Y'all need to meet. And I just remembered, and next thing you know, we connected. Then I'm connected with you. It's just so many different things, people around. If you just willing to build relationships, man, you'll get you a lot of places.
Does sometimes with people that are kind of stuck in the mindset of negativity or, hopelessness, how do they respond to your message typically?
Well, the good thing is, like Jim Rohn said, Jim Rohn mentioned this, the late Jim Rohn said, hey, we can't act like there's nothing negative there.
Yeah.
Negativity is there. The weeds grow with the flowers.
Yeah. It's
going to be there. But the good thing is building that credibility in the relationship to know they can trust what I say.
Right.
If they know Troy's going to be Troy regardless. Mm-hmm. I have bad days just like everybody else. That's not so motivated. My wife can tell you that. Mm-hmm. But the good thing is I've over the years developed the thought process of replacing a thought with another thought.
Right.
Self-talk, self-think.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of the things that you talk about in your book. Yeah. The mindset, which is a huge thing.
Yeah, 2 bathroom breaks, man. You get that thing read. Go to TroyMSmith.com/shop. Troy M as in Michael Smith.com/shop. Get you a copy of the book.
You also have TMSocks.com. You sell socks?
Yeah. That's my sock company I've had.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
And MostMoto.com.
Yeah, the mindset of successful thinking. Moto is short for motivation, so that's what it's about.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of ambitious things that you got going on, and I'd love to help you out and get you on bigger stages for sure.
I want you to, man.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Well, with that being said, we're going to say, what's your problem? Premise of the actual podcast is, what's your problem? So, what is your problem? What are you dealing with? What's the thing as of late that's keeping you up at night?
Me in general.
It's always something.
Well, get more business opportunities, man. Let's be honest about it. Get more opportunities in front of more people to help them get homes.
Right.
That's my main goal every day, is to make sure help as many people get to where they need to go and get what they need. They can in turn help me, that I can feed my family and do all the things I need to do with that, and they continue to go out and inspire folks.
Well, how do you get more speaking gigs and things like that? What are you doing?
Relationship driven, man. It's all about relationships. People now when you mention about what's the one thing you talk about, or what's your word, relationships, and turn around to someone and say, hey, Troy, like my guy called me this morning, the young man needs someone to speak to them about there's hope. Mm-hmm. I got a text just a second ago that said, hey, I have a family that's looking at getting some equity at their house. I mean, it's all relationship driven.
Yeah.
And people just, bring it to me and I help them get where they need to go to.
What are you doing on social media that's like an ongoing thing, continuous basis? I
might have post up something here from yesterday, taking snippets from places I've spoken. I'm gonna give y'all a secret though. You can post, and if you're a content creator, you take these. I record everything I do. Just about everywhere I go, I get my phone up, get a tripod, record it. Yeah. Because I take snippets and pieces from there where it look like you're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And you may not, but you're doing a lot. Take a piece from here, a piece from there, piece from this to show activity.
That's what I love about Marcus is that when I tell him, I've coached him in that set. I'm like, whenever you got an opportunity, make sure there's a camera on.
Yes.
Because you can make it look varied.
Yes.
Right. And that you're in demand.
Right.
I love it when people actually take me up on my advice.
Right.
That's the biggest problem with a coach.
Yeah.
Is that when you're coaching other people, when they don't run with what you're telling them.
Right.
And it's like you could see the plan as clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I know you're standing on the tracks. The train is coming. I see it. You need to get off the tracks.
Yeah.
Why are you not getting off the tracks?
Right,
You know,
right.
And that's a very frustrating thing. You know, but it's good to hear that Marcus does that as well. He certainly has taken that.
I've been just as much as you've been pushing them. It's good because I've been telling them the same thing. Get that camera out, man.
Yeah.
Get that camera out.
He's got something to say.
Yeah.
He's doing something very noble, and for not just the African American community, but for fathers in general.
Yes.
We've been kind of marginalized.
Yeah. Yes.
Over the
and
past
then, you know what?
several
Right.
decades.
Now it's like let's be honest. The white guy, man, they got to find a place of space too.
We do.
A good space. I mean, let's be honest about it. I mean, right now it's not a free good space where you can be yourself without someone saying, "Oh, you this or you that." Or what are you saying? How'd you say it like that?
Why,
so a lot of them now is going to the back of the room. Compared
being
to being in
gun
front.
shy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not really all that affected by that. If somebody wants to come at me with an accusation, let's sit down and talk.
Yeah.
But everyone's got, keyboard muscles these days. And
Very strong fingers.
oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's like, even when, all the world was coming apart in 2020, and if you didn't post a certain way or not post a ball about, you were accused of being a part of the problem because you were being silence is complicity. That used to drive me nuts. Like just because I don't engage on social media where it's pointless doesn't mean I'm complicit.
Yeah.
If you want to hear my thoughts
and
the tone behind my voice, let's sit down and have lunch. We'll talk about it. Nobody understands the art of face-to-face communication.
Oh, that's the big thing now. Also getting out there in front of more people and talking to people face-to-face is now a lost art. And people are like, oh, how do you do that? I mean, this is actually normal.
Yeah.
Being a human being is actually normal.
Yeah.
So you just start brand new and just history repeats itself.
Yeah.
That's why you can't really get rid of history as well.
It really does.
Don't get, because if you get rid of history and you say, oh, that happened. Yeah, that happened before. But since we've been plugging away like it didn't, now it repeated itself.
Yeah. It's going to repeat itself regardless.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because we can learn about, to the victor goes the spoils, and they also write the history books. But you're also looking at the fact that, even if we were to tell our kids, hey, don't touch the stove because it's hot, one of our kids is going to go, you're right. I wanted to get your idea.
And I was that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
As was I.
Yeah.
You're always going to have somebody that needs to learn the hard way.
Right.
When it comes to I'm a believer in the premise of an idea called pendulum, and culturally we're swinging back and forth on 40-year increments. Right now we're living through 1943 all over again.
Oh, really?
In a cultural attitude sense, a lot of I'm okay, you're not okay kind of attitude. And there's 4 variations of that. I'm okay, you're okay, I'm okay, you're not okay, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
You're not okay, I'm okay.
Right. Tongue twister.
It's really kind of, and it's a lot of the, we go from a we to a me. So right now we're going through the zenith of a we-centered society. And I'm really getting deep into the weeds with this, but on either side of these tipping points, not the tipping point, but the zeniths, is when we've taken a good thing too far, when everything gets really kind of wonky. And the we zenith, what we're going through, is the darkest part.
Yeah.
So if we go back every 80 years, we have massive calamities that have happened in history, at least in America, in the Western sense. 40 years or 80 years ago, we went through the World War II. 80 years prior to that in America, we had the Civil War. 80 years prior to that, we had the Revolutionary War. So it really kind of works out. And the reason being, my belief is that it's all generational. Even our grandparents, my parents didn't understand what was happening in World War II. They were babies. And this is to your point of history repeats itself. Here's why. Our grandparents went through it. And if you think about that time that they went through, we can look back on the scope of history and the lens of history and understand that everything turned out okay. What happened. But think about going through it.
You're going through it,
entirely different situation.
The pandemic.
Right.
We had the pandemic before.
Right.
But go through it again, just something new.
Yeah.
So we had to figure it out.
To us it is.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but it happened before.
Our grandparents didn't know if we were going to speak Japanese or German. Right. That was a real thing.
Yeah.
So that's why we repeat it. We don't intrinsically understand how it felt.
Yeah,
is my point.
That's nice.
You know,
that's deep right there, man.
Yeah. We don't know how it felt.
You know what? Key thing, you just said that. So like for the whole thing about the border control, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you live in the interior state like Illinois, or New York, they didn't deal with that southern border control. No, don't do that until it comes to your front door.
Right.
Then it's like, oh, we didn't know that was the case. No, this is the problem. You were trying to make sure down here was like this.
Oh, yeah.
Push your law or thought process on us that we're dealing with it every day.
What a lot of people think is a bad thing, whether it's the border and, certain kinds of people from different kind of beliefs coming through and, enacting some sort of an event, I honestly think, and I'll dare say is a good thing because we need it.
Yeah, but you got to experience it to know.
Yes.
Man, that's deep.
Because a calamity resets everything.
You sure do. You start thinking.
It sucks going through it.
Yeah. You're like, I don't like this.
Right.
Let's change it.
But it resets your mind for a whole bunch of different things.
Right.
But with that being said, how do people find and follow you? Just TroyMSmith.com?
Yeah, TroyMSmith.com, but on social media, rather it's LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, but Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube.
Yeah.
You got Troy M. Smith 35, the number 35.
You need a link tree.
Yeah, well, I guess we get that going.
Yeah.
But Troy M. Smith 35 will get you connected to everything.
Okay.
Troy M. Smith 35 will get you connected to that.
Do you have all those things connected on your master website?
Yeah.
Okay. So they can find everything there.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, well, there you go. We'll put all the information in the description as usual. Make sure that you reach out. He's an incredible speaker, very dynamic. What kind of events should people be reaching out for? Just any kind of event?
Anything, and it doesn't matter.
Okay.
You come and inspire your folks, talk to the sales team.
Schools, churches.
Business. Yeah, I do business-wise, I do I got a course called Sell Your Way Out.
Yeah.
Sell your way out. So it's for the business point, but anything, just call me.
Yeah. You're big on mindset adjustment.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Thought process.
Well, there you go, my friend.
Yeah. Appreciate
Thanks for coming out. I do appreciate it.
I'm thankful for it.
And of course, check us out at whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Share, subscribe, follow, rate, review, all that fun stuff. If you believe in what we're doing and you can see the good that we're doing, let us know. That would be wonderful because we want to grow this thing. We want to try and it's slow and steady wins the race right now. So next stop will be 10,000 average downloads. Might take a while, probably 2024, 2025. But that's okay. What did I say at the beginning of this? Everything takes about 5 years. So any way you can help us out, that would be wonderful. Any way I can help you out, let us know. Hit me up, whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Troy Smith, thanks for coming, my friend.
Thanks, man.